Representative Krupa.
Thank you, Chair Tisdale. And trying to understand the math. You all know that I like math, being an engineer. How much of the federal relief money will have to be given back as a result of this proposal? I believe that the top 20% of wage earners or top 20% of the people would have to give back, rounding, because I like to do rounding as a math person, about $5,000. And those who are on the bottom 20% would only get $12. Is that accurate, or are you?
I think what is your question? Your question
So
seemed
how
to be,
much-
how much are we going to give back?
how much-
And the answer is
well,
we're not
yeah.
going to give any back to the federal
Federal money,
government.
federal money.
We're not going to
federal
give
relief
any
money.
back to the federal government because we're going, number one, you guys are on the Approps Committee know this, but that's why we're working together with them because, we've seen through these revenue estimating conferences that there's a significant amount of new money that we weren't anticipating that's come into the state treasury through the sales and use tax. Secondly, we can cut our budget without dipping into the federal funds. I'm not advocating that we cut and we give people money back from the federal funds. I'm advocating we use the new money that's been found and then we work with Chair Albert and this committee, the Approps Committee, to find the right cuts that are needed. But Michigan, the people of Michigan do not believe that we can't find money in the budget to save given how they've seen our state budget explode over the last 4 years. They don't believe us that we can't come up with enough to honor this promise to our seniors, our families, and our workers.
But just a follow-up question. Isn't it that states around us have allocated their ARPA money and we're still behind? We haven't allocated all our ARPA money. Won't we have to give it back? That's my question, if we don't allocate it.
Well, there's a few years that we have to spend the ARPA money. I'll let Chair Albert talk about it, but under his plan today, which is part of this, you're going to be spending some of that ARPA money, and it's going to make sure that people actually have pensions in the future, and I'll let him talk about that when he comes up.
Okay. Thank you, Representative Krupa. Representative Brixey for a second time.
Follow-up question. So the federal relief dollars that we received actually made stipulations to protect states from taking financial measures that were not sustainable and put prohibitions on tax cutting when we're using this federal relief money. So I think that my colleague's question pertains to that. This is a tax cut, and if we cut our taxes, we're going to have to return the
Question,
ARPA
please.
funds. And how much of the ARPA funds, how much of the federal relief money will have to be returned if your proposal that gives $5,000 to millionaires back and $12 to people making under $40,000 back, how much are we going to have to give back out of our roads, out of our bridges, out of our direct care to unemployed people? How much of that money is going to have to be given back?
So I do not agree with your characterization of the plan. Our plan is a tax cut for all Michigan families, workers, and seniors, not just a select few. It's the biggest tax cut anyone's proposed for our seniors, for our retirees. And they all need relief right now, given the Whitmer and Biden administration's policies that have led to all this inflation. But I will say this, there is no money going back to the federal treasury because of this. And the reason is because the additional income that's come into the state through the sales and use tax and the fact that we're using ongoing funding for this, not one-time funding, which means we're going to have to make some cuts in our budget. But we're not using ARPA funds for this. ARPA funds are going to go out and they're going to be allocated to other things, like hopefully our pensions, to shore them up so people have a pension 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now, and many other things that the Appropriations Committee will lead the way on.